who is either here or listening. This is a work session at which there will be a presentation from the Preservation Studios on the Historic Structures Reconnaissance Survey. Let me formally open the meeting by introducing our board members. To my left, Sarah Lathan. To my right, Mark McIntyre and John Gregory. Also participating in this work session is Alex, who is our planning director. And so, without further ado, let me turn it over to the presenters, and if you can just introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Karen Kennedy. I'm the director of Architectural History for Preservation Studios. And I'm here today to give an overview of our process for the recon survey that we're going to be doing in the village of Southampton.
Great. Okay, good. And Sage, you're okay on picking up everybody's audio? Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just start now.
We're all yours.
Okay.
All yours.
Just to define this for the general public, a recon survey is the first step in identifying and gathering information on your community's historic resources that may be worthy of preservation. It's considered a once-over lightly inspection of the community, and it helps us to characterize historic resources by distribution of property types, how they face the street, architectural styles, and how they fit into the character of the village or the particular neighborhood that we're surveying. The guidelines for the survey are online, and we have the website there. Okay. So we start with planning and research, and the planning has obviously already begun. The Architectural Review and Historic Preservation Board has determined the type of survey, which is reconnaissance level, and also the geographical location, which is the village of Southampton. Research, this phase involves investigation of the village's history, and that includes patterns of development and growth that are represented by the surviving historic resources in the area. Historic resources include building sites, structures, and objects, as well as historic districts. Methods, in addition to the information that we received today from the planning director, we'll be looking at historic maps, newspapers, periodicals, census records, phone books, directories, local histories, etc. This information really gives us a good idea, especially in the proposed expanded districts, who lived there, what they did, how it was developed over time. Okay, so our process for the actual windshield survey is we're going to drive down every street, every road, and take notes on buildings, structures, and landscape features. We'll be doing closer inspections on foot, so we'll be out there with our cameras, taking pictures, mostly streetscapes, but when we do find individual potential landmarks, we will be taking individual photos of those. And the purpose is not to get detailed information on these districts, but a general picture of the distribution of building types and styles within the area so that we can make a good proposal. In terms of evaluation, once we have done our field observations as well as historic research, we'll identify significant historic resources and we'll make recommendations for their recognition and designation. And then we will use the National Register of Criteria for evaluation. And I know that you're all familiar with that. Okay, next. Alex told me you had some questions on the difference between local, state, and national historic resources. So I just kind of wanted to put the definition out here. A state or national registered district or landmark identifies when something is significant. A local law protects it. Okay, so if something's on the state or national register, it's an honorary designation. Someone can paint it pink, they can tear it down, they can totally change the way it looks. It does make you eligible, or the property owner eligible for grants and tax credits, but it does not restrict anything from being done to the building. The National Register program is a great way to identify what's credible in terms of local resources. And a local district is the one that has the teeth. So I know you're looking at your local code now, which is a great thing. Okay. Our evaluation criteria, this really just lists the National Register of Historic Places criteria. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. You know, it's based on Is it historically significant? Is it architecturally significant? Is it identified with somebody who's important? Like a lot of people say, oh, George Washington slept here. Well, if you can prove that, great, you know. And then the fourth one is archaeology, which is not part of the survey. Okay. And Alex said you also had questions regarding contributing versus non-contributing buildings. So let's talk about contributing first. So contributing building will add to the history, the cultural, or the archaeological significance of a property. An example of this would be if it's present during the period of significance. So say you have a commercial district, right? And it was developed and is pretty intact to the period from 1850 to 1950. That would be the period of significance. So if a building was present and it wasn't moved during that period, it would be considered a contributing building if it's fairly intact, if it meets the National Register criteria. Or if it's not a district, it would independently meet the National Register if it's, say, an individual landmark. Okay. A non-contributing building doesn't add anything to it. So it pretty much means it was not present during the period of significance or doesn't relate to the documented significance of the property. So for example, you have a 1920 house and you have a 1980 garage. That's a non-contributing building. Or if due to alterations, disturbance, if the building was moved, it would not be considered contributing. I mean, we had a lovely, lovely old building. It used to be the Red Lion Inn, but it was the original Signal. You might have read about this in the paper. It was a Signal newspaper building in Babylon Village, and they moved it across the street. And no matter what the village did, they couldn't get it on the National Register, and it ended up being demolished. So it's an 1869 building. It had so much significance. So don't move anything that you love.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
tried at the
Don't
county
do
to
it.
get that saved.
Don't do it.
I was told it was my opinion.
No, it's true. It would be very, very hard. Yeah, or impossible.
Thank you.
So the reporting process, we're going to summarize our survey results, discuss areas or topics requiring further investigation. We'll make recommendations on individual properties and potential districts or district expansion, as we discussed, for both National Register and local designation. And any preservation strategies and educational opportunities that we see, we will also include those in the report. So, and that's it. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
I have many.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, in your survey, when you're driving up and down the street, a lot of the houses you can't see because of the prevalence of privet hedges, and and when you're taking that into consideration, how do you deal with that?
We discussed that, I think, on the phone call. I mean, the best thing that we can do really is Google Earth at that point. I mean, if we don't have permission to get on somebody's property, we can't. We just can't do it. I mean, if there's a little open way, if I can, I'll get as close as I can to get in there. And if I can't get a picture, I can make notes on what I see. But if I can't get a full picture without, invading someone's property, I just can't do that.
Okay.
So we'll do the best that we can. I know that was something we discussed today was privet hedges.
Yeah.
So, we do a lot of angle shots. So we try to get the best angle that we can. Even when there's a privet hedge, we'll probably find some place on the road where we can peek in, even if it's a side elevation. So we'll do the best that we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if it's helpful, the village has some access to some angled aerial imagery that's pretty high resolution. So if there's a specific area that you'd like to see, we can
okay.
make that available.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great.
I just know that because I did, on our windshield survey, I did some of the more expensive streets in south of Hill, and literally all I saw was walls of privet. But I literally knocked on people. I actually asked people to come through their gates sometimes. But
And did they?
yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
People were very
Well,
receptive.
people are out. If people are outside, we'll ask them.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were very
And the
receptive.
photographs you did take, we did make available. Those are all linked in
good.
that
Oh,
spreadsheet
good.
that we
Okay.
shared.
Excellent.
So we do have a record of those photographs.
Because there were
as well.
hundreds
Good.
of
Oh, that's fantastic.
hundreds
Excellent.
filed by street.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, we were pretty
We filed by street.
all
address.
inclusive.
Okay,
Okay.
that's great. Yeah.
Shears might be a good idea.
Oh my.
In your statement about if something is moved, does that apply to residential as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the odd history of Southampton, I think we have a few historic houses that were literally along the water in the hurricane of 1938 and then were moved inland.
We would have to talk to the state about that.
Okay.
It's case by case.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it might be case by case. I know are you familiar with Katona in Westchester? Okay, so they actually moved the whole village because they were building a reservoir. So in that case, those buildings that were moved, well, lock, stock, and barrel, like in the, I guess it was, I don't know, the mid to late 1800s, they were considered significant because they moved the whole village.
Right.
If it's just one building or one off, I'm not sure. I couldn't say for certain.
Okay,
But generally, no, which is.
Generally, no, yeah.
okay.
We have also a handful of houses that were moved to allow for commercial construction,
Yeah.
on Hampton Road and on Main Street.
Yeah, I think of Providence, where I went to school, and a lot of houses on the east side of Providence were moved in, whether it be the 1700s, 1800s.
He went
Okay, having spent a fair amount of time in Providence, Rhode Island, where on the east side of Providence, 18th century houses it wasn't uncommon for them to be moved by oxen and logs. So, I mean, I don't think those houses would be deemed non-historic or non-contributing. So what I'm saying is, that my guess is, like you say, it's probably case by case, and it's within the context of when it was moved and why it was moved.
It's better to say no, so,
In terms of,
so we're not opening.
It would be an
up.
exception.
in terms of our
Yeah,
approach
yeah.
currently,
Oh, yeah.
moving, and it says so in our guidelines,
Page 56.
and it's been pointed up in cases, and so, yeah, that's not the issue.
Any other questions?
So, and Alex, I was probably short in saying, and here's Alex, but Alex Wallach, our planning, is coordinating much of this. What's, in terms of timing, what are your expectations, and what are your expectations from us beyond sharing the information that the board has previously done?
Well, I think that's it for you guys. I mean, of course, we'll be presenting to you again, but Alex will be our point of contact, and he has a timeline for the project. I'm not exactly, I think it's like 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, I have to check something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it starts now and it goes out for about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do, or if Alex needs to direct us to you, we'll have him, arrange that. But right now, we have all the information that we need. He sent us so much. He created a Dropbox file that has everything, which is fantastic.
Did it have the full log of all the properties? We had a list of all the properties reviewed and then a link to the photo
Yes,
of the property.
I have
Yes.
that.
Yeah, we worked, you worked very hard.
I have that.
We all worked very hard.
Yeah, that's great. Great work. Great work, you guys.
Will your work be of a nature that it's has to be accepted in its totality rather than as you go along? Because 6 months for us is a long time, and a lot of things can happen.
Mhm.
So if there are, let's say, if a district is identified
Mhm.
30 days from now,
Right.
is that something that can be acted on, or must it be viewed in the context of the entire presentation and proposal?
If there are changes that happen, if something's demolished or something changes what we're looking at. I mean, for the proposed districts, we're looking at areas, we're looking at period of development, we're looking at context.
Mhm.
Is it a commercial district? Is it an industrial area? Is it a residential area? So we're not, for the purposes of reconnaissance level survey, going in and taking a picture of every building and saying, this is contributing, this isn't. We're not doing that. This is going to give you
Right.
the area and the background, and then it will go on the state will review it, Jennifer Betzworth, and then it goes on the state inventory, which is online, and you'll see when you click on it, like you could do this for the Village of Greenport, when you click on it, it'll say, this is National Register eligible, and it'll cover the whole area, but it won't give you information on individual buildings.
So what I'm getting at is, will we be in some state of limbo or hiatus?
Until then?
Till then, or are you doing district, when I say district, a certain geography?
No, you have to
By
wait for the whole,
geography.
you have to wait for the whole report,
But
because it has to be approved by Jennifer, so she wants the final
It
product.
can't be acted upon until,
Yes,
Right.
she doesn't want piecemeal. She wants the entire, because it's going to be like over 100 pages, the report.
Exactly.
So she's going to want to go through it. She's going to have to review it with her boss, and it will have to be approved at that level, and then she'll come back to us, and she'll probably have changes, comments, updates, which we'll have to incorporate. And then, she'll bless it the final time, and then that will be it.
We do have some protection though, because we have a list of historic resources that GAI presented, the survey forms,
Right.
plus what had already been protected. And because they are on this list, we are reviewing what happens to these properties already.
Okay.
So when something comes before us and we know that it's either anticipated or has been flagged by an
Right.
outside consultant, we
Okay.
regularly say, no, we can't take this as a tear down, or you cannot radically alter it because it has already been flagged.
Right. It was part of that 1998 survey.
Yes.
Yes.
So we already have the preliminary backing. We're not in limbo.
Okay.
We're not in total limbo.
That's good. That's good.
All right, I don't have any further questions. Sarah, gentlemen?
Oh, good.
I'm surprised when you mentioned a building that, because a porch had been enclosed. If it's something that is reversible, that's one thing, right?
Yeah. If they removed it, if they took the enclosure off the porch, because it wasn't done during the period of significance. If it was, I just did a district in upstate New York, and it was a summer, I don't know if you've heard of Lilydale. It's a psychic community. It was started in 1869. Very, very charming. But it's not a wealthy community. And what a lot of people did was they enclosed their gable front houses with open porches. They would enclose the porch for extra room. So for this National Register district, we were able to set specific criteria, and one of the things was if they enclosed that porch during the period of significance, it was considered contributing. If someone has done this within the past 10 years, I mean, if a National Register district nomination is done, the criteria could say if it's reversible, it could then be considered contributing, but it would
Okay.
not be in its current state.
Right.
Yeah.
But from a reversibility
Yeah.
standpoint.
And by looking at that house, it could be. They could
Yeah.
pop that bay right off and
Yeah,
Open
okay,
up the
well, maybe
porch.
that,
if they wanted to.
well, just give us a little bit of leeway with something like that.
Yeah.
Because if it's windows that can be popped out.
Windows are okay as long as they're in the original configuration. So if there's replacement windows.
No, I mean with this porch.
Oh, okay, yeah. And it's a projecting bay that was not there originally.
Okay.
It wasn't there 10 years ago. So,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Or 14 years ago whenever the
Okay.
survey was done.
You said a psychic community?
Yes,
What-
look it
what
up,
does that mean?
Lilydale, New York.
A village of
It's-
soothsayers?
Well, it's
or-
a spiritualist community. I
Oh,
shouldn't say
okay.
psychic. But they're,
That
they're
sounds like
they're a
place I wanna
community
go.
full of seers and healers, and
When-
it's
when was it-
fascinating.
when
It's
was it
called
built?
Lilydale.
When was it built?
It was started in 1869, and
Yeah.
it was developed through the 1950s.
Right. During the 1860s, there was a big movement. That's when Christian Science was developed.
Transcendentalism.
The
Yes.
Latter Day
Cool.
of Saints.
Yep.
Latter Day, so, yeah.
It was a big time, yeah. It's a beautiful community. It's right on Lake Chautauqua,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and it's absolutely gorgeous. If
Neat.
you ever get a chance, you should definitely visit. Yeah.
Good woo-woo.
Yeah. In fact, I was at the Chautauqua Institute. You said it was
I just worked with them on a
a
project.
few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's a great community.
Yeah.
And also, that was built as an original Methodist campsite,
Right.
as were a lot of other places at that time. So,
I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks.
You're
And let us
welcome.
know if you need any other information
Absolutely.
from our office. We're happy to provide.
Okay.
The large scale maps that we gave today, those are our office copies, so we do need those back if possible.
We can't write on them.
Yeah, if possible, it would be good to have. I think those are the only copies we have.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, we took off with those.
Sorry, yeah, I should have mentioned.
There's a big, there's a blueprint place, a big copy place.
Oh, okay. We can go there and copy those if we need to. I mean, we also have big scale maps, but
Yeah.
those are really nice. So we'll give them back to you. We'll definitely return them.
Better
I
get
mean,
some
I'm sure we
white
could
out, too.
reprint them if we needed to, but those are the only copies we have of that size.
They might be a little wrinkled.
Oh, that's okay.
They're already in the back seat.
Okay. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very
Katie.
much.
Thank you.
It's nice to meet you all.
We're glad to be working with you.
Onward.
Very
Thank
excited.
you.
So this will conclude the presentation and work session. We will reconvene in about a half an hour for our regular public hearing. Thank you.
Great.
Have a lovely evening and good luck with your meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Peace out.
So that means I can go get a nice coffee?
So, thanks. So
Yeah, you got half an hour.
we're off.